I'm that girl who was told by her teams this morning they would like me to speak to you about war. Okay. It's not pleasant, is it? And so I thought, I had a conversation with them this morning, as I always do, when I asked them, what would you like me to be of service today with, and how, and what conversations, if any, would you like me to share with them? Them being you guys, because they know all of you. They know who is listening and how you're listening and where you're at when you're listening and when. And so this is kind of interesting, isn't it, how this all works? And I don't mind being of service, and I don't even mind those people who don't respect this information or apply this information. That's your choice. But for me and my consciousness and my moral compass, I still choose to be the best of service that I can be. Of course, I'm going to stumble over my words and, say really stupid jokes, but, take me or leave me. I'm still very much human as I'm trying to be of service for my teams. And so there's that. And I'm quite comfortable in fumbling through this as I'm still trying to process my own inner work to the perceptions of what's going on for this world right now. And I know I am in a really special, privileged position where I get to speak to many amazing volunteers for this earth right now. And when we get to speak, we can just be ourselves. And it may sound like judgment when we just talk and say, goodness gracious me, look at humanity today. And it must sound dreadful, doesn't it, that we are perusing the state of the world and how people are still so distracted. And we understand why they are distracted. We understand they've been trained for very little, they've been trained since they were very little to comply and to follow influences, their teachers, their parents, who were also following their influences. So, we sadly observe this. And all of the volunteers that I get to speak to regularly, they're struggling too, because we know. Oh, look at this picture behind me. I wonder if it's going to change. If I do this, hopefully you can see that this is the lighter part of the flower, right? That's the light. That's the highest part of source. That's the sunniest part of the flower, because it's reaching out. And then you get this sort of core density of the flower, which is, got the least amount of light, the least amount of sun shining on it. And so it's sort of dark and broody. And so don't know why they just wanted me to I'm getting distracted because I'm feeling all of my friends who are volunteers who are deeply, I want to say disappointed, but they're not. They're very compassionate. They can understand and see why everyone is still following leaders and still wanting to comply. And so we understand it all. We can see it all. And we love you all so much that we want better for you, deeply better for you. And so there's that. So what they wanted me to talk to you about today is war. And I don't even like saying that word, is it? Because it's just it's conflict straight away. And it's conflict with also pain, because war then conjures up physical violence and discomfort and triggers and a whole lot of stuff. And it's not a fun word to even think about, let alone say. And so I'm saying to them, we know that there is no nuclear war weaponry that can come in. And they say, yes, that's correct. But they also say there's many other types of weaponry that we are not even aware of in full common day knowledge. So this would be the common, do I say the common folk? Woo, it's going to be one of those days, buckle up. Okay, so I feel like I'm suppressing myself because I just don't want to just fully express myself and get on with it, because I'm trying to still be sort of PC about things. So Of course, anyone who's ever listened to any of my sessions or any of these conversations, you know that I love you all very much. I don't come from judgment. I come from observations, and I come from a deeply understanding perspective of where humanity is at and why humanity is at that. And I wouldn't be doing all of these sessions and sharing all this information if I wasn't trying to help you. Because that is the only agenda that I have here, is to try and share this connection that we have in sessions, and that I have to be able to help give you the tools. Your teams are saying you're very capable of knowing this yourself and getting your own higher perspective yourselves. Easy, easy, make it easy, peasy, peasy, super easy. They're saying it's super easy for you all to connect in with them. You don't always have to have quantum sessions to be able to do it, but your belief of limitations on yourself is holding you back. So no one else is holding you back but you, if you're still not able to go within deeply and connect in and sense. And you're not going to be perfect or brilliant at it the very first time. It's baby steps. And we stumble and fall, but the more we strengthen ourselves to make those connections, the better it is. So practice makes perfect, but perfect. And of course we can hear all this information, but it's useless, absolutely garbage, useless if we don't apply it. So there's that. Okay, so they wanted me to talk to you about war, and it's horrible, isn't it? It's so unnecessary, and it just bottoms ourselves out because we think of conflict and murder and then carnage and all of this horrible stuff. And doesn't it just, it does, it really, really does. And so then, we've just started seeing our friends starting to be less afraid of certain medical viruses that are going around because they've either got it themselves and miraculously survived or something else. So they're not really in fear of that anymore. So of course, cue the next bundle of fear that they're going to be introduced to dive into. And so while we can judge that from the 3D, metaphysically, our teams are like, yes, they're finally going to go into that density and take that seriously and work through that new density to be able to heal past traumas. So our teams are like, fantastic, brilliant, bring it on, feel it all right now. Because the more that you go into that density and have those fears and worries, because what do you think and fear about? Is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact my body? Is it going to impact people that I love, or countries that I really don't know anything about? But suddenly, because the media is saying, pay attention to these poor victims, I'm jumping all in. And some people are doing that while ignoring their own crises in their own countries. And there's a choice, and we know that people love to be distracted. So no judgment. I almost feel like I have to keep saying that, don't I? I have to keep reassuring people my demeanor because they can't trust where I'm coming from. So they're listening with their own critical, judgmental ears to see if I am going to, be less than human or more than human or something else. That's a hobby. So anyway, they're trying to say, why is the significance of war being played out now? And we know that, the density is definitely there from the past histories that we've experienced. So if you can be open-minded enough to know that other people have had actual lifetimes where there has been war, where they have exited. It's interesting because most of the people that I have, many of my clients have died in wars, right? So it's a very common thing for those people who have had lots of lifetimes here. You die in wars, unfortunately. But then, life contracts, we have to respect all life contracts. So there's that. And so it's quite interesting because I'm just being reminded to think about now all the times I've had clients where they've died in wars where it actually was friendly fire. Friendly fire. That's interesting, isn't it? That you were killed by your team. So that's interesting. So what would that conjure up? You definitely would not be able to trust your teammates, would you? In other lifetimes, potentially, because you've got to overcome that. So while we choose all our life experiences that when you've got other lifetimes here on earth, you're piling in all of these things you want to overcome. And it's quite interesting how you've had one set of lives with all of these scenarios, and then you're trying to create a life contract that can sort of heal and overcome and learn from all of those lessons you missed in that lifetime to be packed into this one. And so this is why people are like, oh, time is an illusion, because I feel like this lifetime I've lived 27 different lives. And it's interesting, isn't it? And so can you imagine that? Your last lifetime here on this planet, and you've had a half a dozen or a dozen or 100 or 1,000 different lifetimes here. Can you see how you would need to cram in quite a bit of work and experiences? So that would explain to me why, some people have 3 wives, or, had many other relationships and things like that. Because if you've got lots of contracts with other people, you're like, bring it all in, just cram it into this lifetime. We'll do you all. I'll do you all. And we'll clear that, hopefully that karma fast and quick and feverishly. And so doesn't that explain quite a bit of people's choices and the way we live now compared to how we used to live? So there is that. But when people are trying to understand some of their traumas that they've had in this lifetime, they want me to say this. Okay. Lots of people are getting activated right now. Okay, we all know that. We can see that everywhere. People are getting spiritually activated. So whatever that means to you. And so they're getting much more of their senses and attunements and awareness happening, even though they don't get the manual. Oh, hey, yay, my guides have just emailed me a manual about how to work with my spirituality. It's really subtle for some people, or not. It can be like quite horrific awakenings where you suddenly get lots of senses. And if you have tuned yourself out to people's agendas, it's quite overwhelming when suddenly you're noticing everyone is just mindlessly following information that they don't even believe, but they're just coerced into just trusting the plan of what our leaders and dictators are saying. So, I'm feeling like there's lots of tangents here. There's lots of beings here right now who are wanting to say, so when you're suddenly awoken to certain things, you'll actually be more connected in with your teams. And so many people are getting really confused. If your soul family member is coming in to check on you at this last moment in time kind of thing, and they're there with you when you're waking or when you're about to sleep, and you can sense other beings who are your soul family, most people do not go, oh yay, fantastic, home. They think, oh, someone's in my room. It's an invader, it's an intruder, because I've got war on my mind. I'm thinking I'm going to be attacked and vulnerable. This must be, it's not physical. I've just turned on the light. No one's actually in my room. Oh, it's an energy attack. It's a negative energy attack. Yep, that's a twist. That's a twist in one perspective of what it could be. But in the reality, when we do sessions, it's actually your soul families. And so many people want to dip into fear straight away. And I have been known to say, if you think that you have been attacked negatively, vibe higher, because you can't be attacked negatively if you are high vibe. So, you can't dip down into that density of those trolls or, whatever negative entities or very low dimensional vibe beings. You can't be affected by them unless you choose to be affected by them. And a choice in how an option can be affected by them is bottoming out your vibrations by going into fear and then instantly going into vulnerable victim mode. Yeah, that's not very fun, is it? So anyway, I've had this heaps of times where people have, felt like they were being possessed or something like that. And then, of course, in sessions, it's their grandmother who's coming in to just give them, a love hug. But they're so aware of her, but because they suddenly are aware of a sense of a different being, an energy being in the room, they don't think, okay, I'm just going to calmly think about this. Who is this? Who does this energy feel like? Who does this energy remind me of? Instead of doing that, they just freak out and go, monsters, demons. the boogeyman, all that sort of stuff, right? So, that's logical because we're not used to having visitors from other dimensions coming in. For some of us, that's quite invasive. Actually, I'm in my dressing gown right now, Nana. No visitors. So there's that. And so many people are still freaking out about this because they're having these assumptions. And so if you're not spiritually connecting and verbalizing your experiences with anyone because you think, oh, I've just gone crazy because suddenly now I'm getting all these senses, it's going to be a hard path for you because you don't connect in with others and talk to others about it. So then you just think for most of your experiences, oh God, I'm so crazy. I'm so, whatever, down. And we just we beat ourselves up and go trash talk ourselves from those experiences, which doesn't really help us, does it? So, and often children get visits from their soul families as well. And it's really beautiful for them because they're open to it. But as we were experiencing with my daughter, when they left, she got very upset because every time they had to go, she felt like they were leaving her. And that was very upsetting for her because she loved her visits. But then they realized that their visits were actually doing more harm to her because she loved their frequency energy and she loved being reminded of them. And so they realized that it was sort of self-indulgent for them to check in. And so they sort of did it from a further distance. So then she wasn't going to be affected by it because she needs to focus on this lifetime. So it's kind of heartbreaking because they weren't trying to be menaces at all. They were trying to just see her again and connect in with her again at a more physical level. Anyway, and so, there's lots of things that go on that we can't tangibly see. And so lots of people also do this too when they jump to conclusions about abductions. They may feel like they have been abducted and they feel emotionally connected to it. And so when we're in a regression, they get to hear actually what happened. They remember that this is part of their life contract. They agreed to this, and their emotions that they experienced through it was actually, again, revisiting some of their soul friends and family or beings that they did know and got so emotionally overwhelmed to reunite with them and re-see them. That was the emotion. But of course, when we don't understand things fully, and we just use our fantastic, 3D egos to try and unpack what actually happened to us, often we feel, because we have missing information, then we feel violated and maybe victimized and scared, or just really curious. So, there's a whole range of emotions there. And so there's that. So they're still wanting me to talk about war. Because there is another war going on, and it's about war of truth. And many people are still afraid to speak their truth. I have seen many people who have had sessions who know that the new earth is not this planet, that it is another physical planet, but with this current planet soul, just happily talk to other people who are very firm about their perception that the new earth is already here and they're in it and they're 5D, which is great. But people will not be able to speak their truths. And so while that's not really a war, they're not wanting to even have conflict. And so if you can't pick a path, and if you can't step up for yourself and your belief systems, then you're kind of passive to your own truth. And often we are supposed to share our true truths with people when we are talking about certain things like that, to be able to have a conversation starter. And if you're so confident about your truth, about the new earth being here, and you're already in your fifth dimensional bodies, fantastic, let's talk. But those people are afraid to talk because they are really wanting to still be in their reality of the creating their own realities, which is interesting. So then let's talk about why they're creating certain wars and conflicts, because that would be very interesting too, to hear their perspective of things. So there's that. But they're wanting you all to just consider, if war did break out in your country, wherever you are, it would be perceived by other countries as you're all the same. right? And we know we're not the same. We know that everyone around the world has different opinions, and lots of my like-minded friends are all throughout different countries, and you can't just label one country as being one group of people who have the same belief systems, or the same values, same integrity, the same intentions. You could have a group of 3 people and you could have very different opinions. So it's interesting when countries go to war against each other, allegedly, what really is going on there, because that not all people within that country align with the principles of, say, their own governments and leaders. And so it feels, when you start unpacking the feelings and emotions of war, it just feels like a lot of victims and a lot of unjust experiences. And and I think when we all start thinking about, the perceived notion of, 2 countries or 3 countries or 10 countries fighting it out together, it just seems so barbaric that in this day and age, we would still have this extreme level of conflict. And I guess, for those volunteers who have been helping this planet for all of this time, has seen and guided people all of this time through all of this conflict, and seen just barbaric things happen to beings. Because when you're so in depth in darkness, and you're so out of love, and you're so vulnerable, and you're so me against the world kind of approach, or me against the bad guys, whoever that may be in your perception. And so then we go and fight because we're told to fight, and then we kill because we're told to kill, all that stuff. It just feels so tiring, doesn't it? Energetically, it just feels like this has to be, from what we know, this is very confirming to us, this is definitely the last kind of density big squeezes out for humanity to ponder at this point. So it's all purposeful. There's lessons for everyone there. There's experiences for everyone there as we explore the realities of past wars and hardships and experiences. And so now we must think, why now? What's happening now? And what density is being released and purged from Gaia? What density is being released and purged from humanity's collectives? And so, as I sort of tried to explain yesterday about how when we go down into that density as the big volunteers, when we go down in there, and also other people who have actually done their inner work and actually are of service, you guys are amazing, because you've had so much of your other lifetimes you've had to overcome and process. To be here now is incredible. To be of service now for humanity is remarkable. And I'm very impressed with people who actually do their inner work, because I know how hard it can feel. But God, it's so worth it. I guess this is like how people want to run, they love it. They feel so good and so energized after running. But from my perspective, I don't even have the energy or the motivation to actually run. And so I assume it's going to take from me. And yet all the reports from all the runners I know say, I love it because I get so much more energy afterwards. And I just think, okay, I'll trust you. But it's true. I used to run. So yeah, I'm a reformed runner. The density of these conversations do just make me feel blah, because it is hard, because we're talking about those emotions. We're putting ourselves in situations where people were, blown up, their lives removed from them because of silly war games. It had nothing to do with them personally, but it impacted them deeply. And so their life contracts were changed. The Hiroshima experience, for example, changed lots of life contracts. They were not supposed to. They didn't plan to live a life like that. And so they're having to overcome and heal from that trauma. And what the Japanese government did to their people was inhumane. And I really encourage all to read that book from Dolores Cannon, A Soul Remembers Hiroshima. Oh, because, it is just such a song, such a classic example of what humanity has done to humanity. And regardless of what collectives you come from, right now we're playing the humanity game. Right now we're all representing humanity and trying to be the best of service for humanity. And so it's not a team of, original souls from Earth and then original souls off Earth. We're all here to be of service. So humble yourselves down and remember we're all team humanity right now. We are all humanity right now. And so we are part of the service for humanity, and we are with humanity, and we're helping humanity, and we love humanity, and we are wanting all of these souls to be able to have all of the experiences to evolve. Literally why we're here. Literally why we're here. And so, we know that many wars have happened off planet and other planets, and everyone's come here to try and heal from that karma and those lessons and experiences from all of those other planets to be here now for this final experience, knowing that a lot of 3D planets also need to evolve. So it's almost kind of like, they're saying the harvest. So they're sort of saying, they're saying a big olive tree. Imagine a big olive tree. And sometimes you can pick the olives earlier, and then sometimes you can pick the olives later and get different experiences and quality of the olives. And they're saying that this olive tree has bloomed, and it's finishing its season of the olives, the fruit of the tree. And they're saying now all of the olives need to go, because that tree now wants to evolve and start producing not olives, something else. And so I'm like, well, that's a shitty analogy, because trees don't evolve like that and then produce something else. But they're a little bit sassy today, and they're saying, well, that's the best we can explain it to you with your monkey suit and your monkey mind. So we'll accept that and be grateful for their cheek. But, consciously, we're just aware of our lives and kind of what we're supposed to be doing here and now. And remember that they've got this fantastic advantage point of remembering everything that's ever happened to this planet and all the other planets that I just was mentioning. So I think they're even really sort of done with supporting 3D behaviors and approaches. And that while they still love us, absolutely love us, wouldn't be here if they didn't love us, have nothing but love for us, 100% love for us. They're still on this project of helping and serving us. And so they actually have said in many, many, many sessions, they actually want to get on and do something else now, because they're sort of like really done. Their interest level is just taking a toll, I think. Because I guess they just know that so much density and really hard experiences, because we've created all the hard experiences, right? So, everyone who's made the choices to keep conforming and complying and obeying, everyone who's taken those little steps to get to that point, to be here now, to allow all of this now, we've sort of got this bigger problem now. And instead of, I know some people are like, why can't they just pull the plug on this now and we can just, accept it for what it is? Yes, that's absolutely a case, but we've been given an extension to experience and overcome that here now. Why wouldn't you want to master it now and overcome it now and grow from it now? while it's all here. Because I think when they sort of pack up the game of, life, and pack up the game of Earth in the 3D and sort of seal up all of those records and complete all that information and put that into the Akashic records, then wouldn't that, that I think that's quite a big deal. And so they're not going to quickly just pack up the game, because they know there's still much more experiences to learn and grow from. And would we ever want to limit anyone's lessons and experiences and growth? Not me personally, but it can look like it's a very slow experience. Well, it certainly did a few weeks ago, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, now it seems to be ramping up so intensively. People are really noticing the lack of support from influencers in terms of governments and politicians and people who have been pledging that they are there for their citizens and their voters and whatnot. So fascinating times. So while I didn't really want to sort of dive into the emotions of the WAR, reality is you will probably have wanted to ponder it. And they're saying people are worried because I mentioned different weapons. So sorry, I will get to that. And so as we know, different technologies are here on the planet and could be released onto this planet. And we know that lots of things have been happening, quite a lot anyway, to disempower us and to sort of poison us and to disable us from our connections to our higher selves and to our teams, and to empower ourselves and not dumb ourselves down. I know lots of people who still drink water with fluoride, for example, and I just sort of know what that does to your capability of brain functionality. So, no judgment, and that's why I think when you bless the water, you're clearing it, and when you are taking the time to love and heal yourself, and you're asking your teams to profoundly upgrade you and heal you and align you and help you and release anything that no longer serves you. Oh, this is what they want to say. When you ask them to heal you, instead of them taking away those experiences, they will give you experiences for you to overcome and grow from. So, for example, you don't have trust. And so you're asking your teams, and you don't really know that you don't have trust. So you're asking your teams, heal me from everything that no longer serves me. And so they're like scrolling through your little, inner work closet, and they're like, oh, they don't trust. Okay, they're asking for me to heal them. They don't trust. So I'm going to give them an example and experience where they have to trust. And that experience will heal them, because once they learn to trust, then they're healed. They no longer have distrust. And so they'll give you that experience for you to then have the opportunity, take it or leave it, to trust. And so sometimes you get given these experiences while you can't trust others, and you put that and you misconfuse that and you put that in, so you couldn't trust them, but you're already coming from a position of can't trust. So you either accept the lessons that you are being offered, or you don't. And that is your free will, the luxury of your free will. But then when you keep asking for more healing, your teams will be like, well, they didn't get it last time. Shall we try something a little bit more dramatic this time? And so they will keep giving you these experiences to help you heal. And so you can't magically heal without doing any inner work or going through it or processing it. That's not the purpose of these lives. They can't magically give you all of your inner work. We have to feel all of the range of emotions in 3D, unpack them all, and still rise up and be in light and not have any density, and empower yourself and therefore empower others around you. So I'm really wanting you all to just re-listen to that again, because when we are asking for, say, for example, lots of those people who are praying and asking for Gaia to be healed, what does it look like for them when they are obeying your request to heal Gaia? And so what does she have to do? She has to release all her trauma. And when most of her soul is sort of taken a big step away, then we're all experiencing this trauma. We are being of service and helping. And so, you know, we're all in this together. We're all helping Gaia, and we're all helping humanity and all the other beings who are here. It's not just our personal soul responsibility, but we all are solely responsible for our own choices to be of service. And so while we can't single-handedly do this, we're team humanity. We're team Gaia. We're all here in this together. We are all one through this. And so we could just choose to take on little bits of service, or we know that we are more capable of that and we surrender in to be of complete service and honor our purpose here. So lots of choices. Yay for choices. And so those people who keep asking to heal themselves or Gaia or someone else, what you're giving them is an opportunity to overcome that sticking point again for themselves, and to relive it again. And with the higher frequency that is available, that is constantly surrounding us, we're at a greater advantage point to acknowledge the density, unfold the density, work through emotionally what that density does for us, and then release it and love that lesson and move forward. So, okay, I love you guys so much. And those people who are seriously taking on their responsibilities really well, you know, you guys always impress me. It is incredible. It is incredible. And I know that so many souls are going to look back at, say, the Akashic records or their own memories and experiences, and potentially your own memories and experiences, and look at all the choices that you've been making. And while they are still prickly cactuses for you today, that's not always going to be the case. And they may have to have the veil of forgetfulness removed from them to be able to honor you and love you and respect you, and understand that from your perspective, you were trying the best you could to be able to help support them through this density. And so while many of us have just thought, oh, those cactuses, well, they can survive by themselves, can't they? If we've sort of abandoned them when they have been the most hurt and we were supposed to help them, they would know that too. And so, you know, there's going to be no judgment, obviously. It's just choices and observations. But when we know this information and when we know we can be of service, we always want to step up, and we always want to help those who are in our lives, who we know we are supposed to encourage and support and love truly. And, you know, when we all can admit we've all got still our own inner work and our daily experiences to see if we can empower ourselves through it and learn from it and grow, you know, that's being honest. It's always interesting to me when I see people say that they don't have any inner work and they're complete. It's an interesting, that's interesting, very interesting to me, because every day you should be given new opportunities to be able to see, is this work for me or is this work to help others? So it's fascinating times, and I just can't express enough, because words seem so limiting sometimes, how much I truly appreciate all those who are of service and who can apply this information, because I know you guys are just doing such powerful things around the world. And that really impresses me, because I know there's so many distractions to not do it. So, you know, yeah, you guys just amaze me. So anyway, fanning over you all, because I know how hard this can be. But I know that when you do the work and apply the information, you can have this balance, this beautiful balance. And it's so, that energy is so attractive. And so, people flock to those who are of higher frequency because it's pleasant, versus those who are in the density of darkness and despair and confusion of what the lessons and purposes are of this lifetime right now. So there's all of that. Okay, have a fantastic day. I truly hope that you can honor your water, honor yourselves, and honor the lessons that are abundantly given to us.